stuff that he think I don't know about, or he think he got one up on me. I don't know. He think he got a mole somewhere. I told him I got a mole.
Boxing world has been flipped upside down as news breaks that Tank Davis has been taken into federal remand over allegations of match fixing in his controversial fight with Lamont Roach Jr. just days after whispers of a possible investigation began circulating. Things have taken a darker turn.
The commission gets this right. It was a bummer not being declared the winner on a technicality that could be righted, that wrong could be righted. Obviously, in different ways.
It started with reports indicating that the referee in charge of the fight, Steve Willis, has provided key information that supports the claims that the fight was manipulated. Fans and analysts have been questioning how the fight ended in a majority draw despite Roach seemingly doing enough to win. And now with federal authorities involved, it appears that those suspicions were more than justified.
I think Lamont Roach, I think he landed more punches throughout the fight. I think Tank was used to, figuring it out, having that slow start, figuring it out around the third, fourth round. And I think
from the moment the final bell rang, controversy surrounded the result. Roach had outwalked Davis in several rounds, and many believed he deserved the victory outright. But then came the ninth round, the moment that set off alarms. Davis took a knee in the middle of the action, something completely unexpected, and referee Willis appeared to start the count. However, midway through, Willis changed his mind, waved it off, and ruled that it was not a knockdown. That one decision changed the entire outcome of the fight. If Willis had counted it as a knockdown, Roach would have won round 10-8, which could have been enough to secure a win on the scorecards. But with the call going in Davis's favor, the fight ended in a draw, leaving Roach stunned and fans furious.
What's your thoughts when you first heard that?
When that they wasn't going to overturn it?
Yeah.
I mean, I expected that. I don't really see them doing that. Tank is too big of an attraction. New York, I felt like for a
Davis's explanation for taking the knee was bizarre, to say the least. He claimed that his hair had been freshly done with too much grease, and when he started sweating, it dripped into his eyes and burned, forcing him to kneel. The excuse was widely, with fans calling it one of the most ridiculous things they'd ever heard from a fighter. Critics pointed out that fighters get sweat and blood in their eyes all the time, and none of them just decide to kneel in the middle of a fight. Roach himself was livid after the fight, saying, "If you take a knee, that's a knockdown. That's just the rules." The ref started counting. So why did he stop? "They stole this from me." His team wasted no time filing an official complaint with the New York State Athletic Commission, demanding a full review of the fight and how it was officiated. But the controversy didn't stop there.
He take a knee. You need to lose like 10-8 that round at least, no? And plus the corner go up and put a towel in the face. That's a disqualification for sure. I'm talking about the.
What made things even worse was a chilling comment Davis made to Roach at the night of the fight, where he reportedly told him, "They ain't going to give it to you." At the time, people assumed Davis was just talking about the usual politics of boxing, where the aside fighter gets the benefit of the doubt. But now, in light of the match-fixing allegations, that statement has taken on a whole new meaning. Did Davis already know how the fight was going to end before it even started? Was the result predetermined? These are the questions that have now triggered a full-blown federal investigation.
So to me, I thought I won the fight clearly. I thought I won a close fight. I thought I won a very competitive fight. Okay. I'm not saying I steamrolled him or whatever.
Feds got involved after Roach's legal team brought in high-profile attorneys who pushed for a deeper investigation into the fight's result. They pointed out suspicious betting activity leading up to the fight, with an unusual amount of money being placed on a draw. A draw is one of the least common outcomes in boxing, so the fact that so much money was being placed on it raised major red flags. Investigators started looking into whether inside information had been leaked to bettors who knew ahead of time that the fight would end in a draw. And then came the biggest bombshell, the revelation that referee Steve Willis had provided key information to authorities.
It should have been a knockdown, one.
So that's why I'm yelling at the referee, like, keep counting. Like, you tripping. Keep counting. That's a knock then. Because if y'all didn't notice, he started the count.
While the full details of what Will Is said haven't been released, sources indicate that he confirmed there were external influences affecting his decisions during the fight, that confirmation was enough for federal agents to move in on Davis. The arrests are as surprising as they are. Davis, who has had his fair share of legal troubles in the past, now finds himself in what could be the most serious situation of his career.
It wasn't coming to lay down. I've been knowing Lamont since we was kids, so we came up in amateurs together. So I knew Lamont was serious. He was coming.
If the allegations are proven true, he could be facing not just a suspension from boxing, but criminal charges that could land him behind bars. Boxing insiders are already speculating on how this could affect his career moving forward. Some believe this could be the beginning of the end for Davis, while others think his promotional team, led by Al Hayan and Premier Boxing Champions, will do everything in their power to protect him and keep him fighting. But even if he avoids legal trouble, the damage to his reputation may be irreversible, I feel.
When my back is against the wall or against the ropes, it's like, it's time to show up. So it wasn't really hard for me to focus because all I had to do was
Social media has exploded with reactions to the news, with fighters and boxing personalities weighing in. Devin Haney, one of Davis's biggest rivals, wasted no time mocking him, posting, "Damn, first he fakes injuries to duck fights, now he fixing fights, ain't no way y'all still rocking with this dude." Oscar De La Hoya, who has been a longtime critic of Davis, tweeted, "I've been saying it for years, Tank is protected. The truth always comes out." Even Teddy Atlas, the veteran boxing analyst known for his non-nonsense takes, called the situation a disgrace to the sport.
I'm still rooting with him. I saw the negativity and people, critics talking, but I think he's one hell of a fighter, and I think he's still the
To make matters worse, Davis's name has now been removed from several boxing rankings. Ring Magazine officially dropped him from their pound-for-pound list, replacing him with David Benavidez. The backlash is already affecting his career in real time, and if the investigation leads to further evidence, things could get even worse. There's already talk that the New York State Athletic Commission may again revisit and void the fight result entirely, which would mean Roach could be declared the rightful winner. If that happens, Davis would not only lose his standing as one of the top fighters in the sport, but could also see his championship belts taken away.
Reverse the result of your fight.
Yeah.
Should they reverse the result of that fight as well?
It just depends. Like if that changes the whole fight, if that gives Roach a victory, give him the victory. That's how you keep the integrity of the sport, right? That's why they suspended me, right? To keep the integrity of the sport.
As Davis sits in remand awaiting his next legal hearing, the question now is whether he will fight his way out of this, or if this will be the moment that ends his career. If the feds have enough evidence to charge him with match fixing, he could be looking at not just a ban from boxing, but actual jail time. Some are already comparing this to past boxing scandals, drawing parallels to how Floyd Mayweather was accused of controlling judges and referees throughout his career. But while Mayweather was never caught in anything this serious, Davis may not be. So lucky if the allegations hold up, he could go down as the biggest scandal in modern boxing history.
He caught me with a good shot, but it was times that I sat in there with him and I'm like, damn, this guy like super slow. Well, not super slow, but he's slow, and I could have took advantage of. I think I was boxing too much in the beginning, and when I failed.
Gervonta Davis is in deeper water than anyone expected, and now the boxing world is split on whether he can bounce back or if his career is permanently damaged. Rolly Romero, one of Davis's past opponents, seems to believe Tank can turn things around in the rematch, but his words don't come without controversy. Speaking to The Ring, Romero said Davis has the ability to make adjustments and secure a win in the rematch, adding that Roach's performance was so surprising that even Roach himself might not have expected it. That statement alone raised eyebrows. Was Romero implying that Roach got lucky? Because if there's one thing the boxing world has agreed on, it's that Roach was the better man that night. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a fluke.
You lost that fight. I mean, the only reason they gave you the fight was because you would make more money as a champion, but there's no way it's a draw, and they didn't call the knockdown. If they called a knockdown, you...
Roach outboxed Davis and would have won if not for the questionable officiating. But now with Davis under federal investigation for match fixing, Romero's comments take on an even deeper meaning. The way Romero described Roach's performance makes it sound like it was a once-in-a-lifetime performance, something Roach could never replicate. But was it really? Roach didn't just land a few lucky punches. He controlled large portions of the fight, made Davis uncomfortable, and exposed weaknesses that no one had truly tested before. Romero trying to downplay that could be his way of protecting his own loss. To Davis, after all, if Roach, a fighter who has never been seen as elite, was able to give Davis all these problems, then what does that say about Romero, who got knocked out by Davis in the 6th round of their fight in 2022?
For one, discredit thing is he's still a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yeah. What do you think about that fight that happened? You thought it was just an off night, or?
Everybody has an off night. Everybody has an off night. Shit, I had a off night with Cruz.
Even more controversial was how Romero addressed the knee incident. None of the punches hit him. He said, speaking about Davis's bizarre decision to kneel mid-fight, that's a damning statement considering that Davis had claimed he went down because of sweat dripping into his eyes. If Romero, a fellow boxer, openly says that none of the punches landed, then why did Davis go down at all? That question still has no real answer. And more importantly, why did the referee begin the count, then suddenly stop? Romero himself acknowledged that if the knee had been counted as a knockdown, Davis would have lost. That alone proves how crucial that single moment was in determining the outcome of the fight. But let's get real.
Punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, oh, that, you know, he should be disqualified, he went back to the corner. I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warning, but it's a bit of a bizarre situation. For me, like, there was a lot of people in boxing.
What Romero didn't say is just as important as what he did say. He avoided talking about the fact that Davis's name has been brought up in a federal investigation over fight-fixing allegations. He avoided mentioning how Davis allegedly told Roach before the fight, "They ain't going to give it to you." He ignored the growing speculation that the unusual betting patterns on a draw were more than just coin incidents. Instead, he focused on the idea that Davis just had a tough night and would make adjustments. But how can Davis focus on a rematch when he might be facing criminal charges? That's the real question.
Hey, can't even see who it is. Yeah. Who is the dude? Who is the dude?
And that right there.
Ryan Garcia, another past opponent of Davis, also chimed in on the rematch discussion. Speaking to Yes News, Garcia said he believes Davis will win the second fight, adding that Tank just underestimated Roach and expected him to fold. But that raises another controversial point. Why did Davis expect Roach to fold? Most likely because he knew something the rest of us didn't. If Davis believed going into the fight that the decision was already going to favor him, then of course he wouldn't have fought with the same urgency. He wouldn't have trained the same way, and that's exactly what we saw in the ring. Davis fought Roach like he had nothing to worry about. He didn't take Roach seriously. And when Roach kept coming at him, Davis looked confused, almost lost. It was one of the worst performances of his career, and Garcia is saying he was simply caught off guard doesn't fully explain it.
You think it was a draw? No. Who you thought won? Who you thought won? Lamont. You thought Lamont won? By how many rounds? I don't know.
What makes this even messier is the fact that Roach and Davis had a $250K bet before the fight. Davis bet that he would knock Roach out. But when the fight ended in a draw, it was unclear whether Davis ever paid up. If he hasn't, then that adds another layer to the controversy. Davis was willing to gamble 6 figures on a result that didn't happen despite allegedly having inside knowledge of how the fight would go. That alone raises massive red flags. And if Davis really thought he was going to get the knockout, then why did he fight with such little urgency? Why did he take a knee? None of it makes sense, unless you start looking at the bigger picture. Music. The good news for Roach is that he's already set for a rematch, whether it happens in 2024 or 2025. Both sides have expressed interest in running it back. But the reality is a rematch will only be fair if the corruption surrounding the first fight is fully exposed. If Davis is found guilty of match fixing, then how can anyone trust that the second fight will be any different? And more importantly, should Davis even be allowed to fight again? If he manipulated the result of a professional fight, shouldn't he be banned from the sport? The worst part about all of this is that it's damaging boxing as a whole. The sport has already been struggling with bad judging, shady business deals, and fights that take years to happen.
We will never see that fight happen again. It just will not happen. Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't like hard fights. It's that simple. We've seen it over and over. He fought a Ryan Garcia drained. He fought a very inexperienced Rolly Romero. He will not fight Devin Haney. He will not fight Shakur. He will not fight Pitbull Cruz.
If one of the biggest names in the sport, Gervonta Davis, is involved in a match-fixing scandal, then that's another massive blow to boxing's credibility. It would be even worse than the controversy surrounding Floyd Mayweather's hand-picked opponents or Canelo Alvarez's questionable scorecards. This is outright corruption. And if Davis is guilty, it means boxing has a major problem that goes beyond just one fighter. Meanwhile, Davis is still trying to control the damage. Despite being in remand, his team is working overtime to shift the narrative. They want people to believe this is just another case of Davis being unfairly targeted. But let's be honest, Davis has been involved in too many controversies for this to just be bad luck, from his past legal troubles to his run-ins with the law to now being under federal investigation. This is starting to look like a pattern in boxing. Fans are growing tired of it. Right now, Davis is fighting two battles, one in the courtroom and one in the public eye.
Saying throw it enough.
Can you describe what the feeling was like in the ring? And was it to get the towel out, to get the burn out of your eyes, or what was going on? And
I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want to get caught while my eyes was burning. And you know, like, you can get knocked out like that. So I'd rather take.
He's losing both, even if he gets out. And the rematch happens, his reputation is permanently stained. No matter what happens, there will always be an asterisk next to his name. And if he somehow manages to win the rematch, critics will just say it was another fix. Lamont Roach Jr. may have gotten robbed the first time, but he's won something even bigger: the public's respect. If there's one fighter who has come out of this situation looking better than ever, it's Roach. He was the underdog, the guy who wasn't supposed to win, but he exposed one of boxing's biggest stars. And now, no matter what happens in the rematch, people will remember that night when he made Gervonta Davis look beatable.
You know it's time.
Can't wait.
You know it's time.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. You know it's time.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
The rematch is nearly locked in, and this time the stakes are even higher after their controversial first fight, which ended in a majority draw. Roach Jr.'s promoter Gary Jonas has made it clear that negotiations are almost finalized. While he didn't reveal all the details, Jonas stated that the rematch is very close to being a done deal. In his words, "In my mind, it's a done deal." But there are formalities. That statement alone is enough to set the boxing world on fire. Fans are now waiting for an official announcement, but it seems inevitable the rematch is happening.
Nah, to be honest, I've already made it competitive, for real, to be honest. But for sure, Lamar is a great fighter. He got the skills.
Jonas also brought up a key factor that could change the outcome this time around: Davis's mindset. You got Gervonta, who's probably going to be angry, probably woken up, probably more focused. That's a major shift from where Davis was mentally before the first fight. He had been talking about retirement, acting like he had nothing to prove, and barely promoting the fight. This time, with his undefeated record technically still intact, but his aura of invincibility shattered, Davis has no choice but to come in fully focused. Anything less and Roach Jr. could do what he nearly did the first time: walk away with the WBA lightweight title.